There comes a moment in life where your soul gets tired. Not tired in the physical sense, but spiritually, emotionally exhausted. Not because you did too much, but because you held on too long. You kept giving, you kept caring, you kept showing up for people who would never show up for you. And somewhere along that path, your spirit whispered, let go. Detachment, it's not about not loving. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about protecting your peace. It's about understanding that you don't have to carry the weight of what isn't meant for you. Some things are heavy because they are not yours to hold. And if you keep holding on, you'll miss the blessings trying to reach you with open hands. Let me tell you something. Freedom begins where emotional dependence ends. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to chase closure. You don't need everyone to understand you. The moment you learn to disconnect emotionally from the noise, from the drama, from the pain, that's when you rise. That's when you reclaim your power. That's when peace finally becomes your home. Detachment is not about shutting down your heart or becoming emotionally numb. It's about recognizing what your heart truly deserves and choosing peace over chaos. Too often we confuse love with sacrifice, thinking that giving more, even when it hurts, is a sign of strength. But real strength lies in knowing when to walk away. There's power in saying, I've done enough. When your soul feels constantly drained, when your mind is occupied with overthinking, when your emotions are in constant conflict, that's your inner spirit telling you it's time to detach. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally choosing yourself. You can love people and still step back. You can care and still choose silence. Your peace should not be the price of your loyalty. If you find yourself constantly disturbed, always on edge, always explaining yourself, then it's not love. It's emotional damage dressed as duty. Detachment is an act of love for yourself. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. It's choosing to no longer be available for what harms your growth. You're not distancing yourself because you hate them. You're doing it because you finally learned to love yourself more. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. And yet many stay stuck, afraid of letting go because they're emotionally entangled. They fear being alone. But what's more painful than being alone is being surrounded by people who make you feel unseen, unheard, and unloved. Detachment teaches you that silence is an answer, that walking away is maturity, and that not reacting is a form of power. Every time you choose not to argue, not to explain, not to beg for understanding, you are protecting your peace. Some people will never understand the damage they cause because they've never had to sit in the silence of their own chaos. But you've felt every sharp word, every cold shoulder, every broken promise, and yet here you are, still standing, still breathing. That strength you carry is not because you didn't feel, it's because you finally refused to drown in it. Detachment allows you to rise above the emotional noise. It's not about revenge or resentment, it's about freedom. It's about making space for joy, for clarity, for self-respect. There's a version of you that is calm, a version of you that no longer breaks every time someone leaves, lies, or disappoints. That version is found through detachment. See, when you stop seeking validation from people who can't even validate themselves, you begin to take your power back. People may call you cold. They may say you've changed. Let them talk. Because they never understood the war you fought just to feel okay. They don't know the nights you cried over someone who never even noticed. Detachment isn't being cruel. It's being wise. When you stop over-explaining, over-caring, over-giving, you start living. You finally understand that not everything deserves your energy. Some things are meant to pass. Some people are just lessons. And when you cling to what's temporary, you delay what's permanent. Peace isn't found in controlling outcomes. It's found in releasing them. When you no longer feel the need to control how others see you, love you, or treat you, you become free. That's the real power. That's when life begins to serve you, not the other way around. Every time you let someone back in who repeatedly disrespected you, you teach them that your boundaries are negotiable. And the more you do that, the more they chip away at your dignity. That's why detachment is essential. It puts you back in control. You are no longer reacting to their moods, no longer chasing after their validation. Instead, you're rooted in yourself. You've come too far to let someone else decide your worth. You've sacrificed too much peace for the sake of being understood. But now, you don't need to be understood. You need to be free. You're no longer holding space for people who drain your spirit. You're no longer shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that never welcomed your light. Detachment lets you breathe. It lets you sleep without that knot in your chest. You stop analyzing every text, every silence, every word, because your peace is no longer up for negotiation. You've finally realized that protecting your soul is more important than pleasing people who never valued it in the first place. You don't owe anyone your energy, especially when that energy is being exploited. Detachment reminds you that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Not everyone deserves to know how you feel, what you think, or what you're going through. There's a quiet kind of strength in not sharing everything, in keeping your peace sacred. You start to notice that life gets lighter when you stop trying to fix everyone, when you stop rescuing people who refuse to rescue themselves. You can support someone without carrying their weight. You can be kind without being used. Detachment creates emotional space. That space allows you to think clearly, to feel deeply without being consumed, and to love wisely without being broken. You're not avoiding emotions, you're managing them. You're not running, you're releasing. You're not cold, you're clear. And in that clarity, you begin to build a life that aligns with your truth. A life where your peace isn't dependent on someone else's approval, moods, or attention. The greatest act of self-respect is knowing when to walk away. When your soul is aching from constant compromise, when your joy is buried beneath guilt and obligation, it's time. Time to step back. Time to let go. Time to choose you. That doesn't make you selfish. That makes you whole. The people who truly care won't need to be chased. The ones who see your value won't need constant reminders. Detachment teaches you that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. That peace doesn't have to be earned. It should be natural. When you detach, you're not giving up, you're growing up. You stop trying to force connections. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop needing explanations. And in doing so, you unlock the door to something greater. Internal peace. A peace that isn't shaken by storms, isn't broken by people, and isn't stolen by circumstances. You become grounded. You become still. You become powerful, not because you control everything, but because nothing controls you anymore. That's the beauty of detachment. That's the beginning of freedom. Letting go is one of the hardest things a human being can do, not because we're weak, but because we care so deeply. We try to fix everything. We try to hold it all together. We believe that if we just try harder, love harder, explain better, maybe things will work out. Maybe people will change. Maybe life will get easier. But holding on to things you can't control is like gripping a rope that's burning your hands. The longer you hold it, the more damage it does. The truth is, some things are not meant to be held, they're meant to pass. And no amount of overthinking, no amount of begging, no amount of worrying will change what's outside your control. Peace comes when you stop trying to force outcomes. When you stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. When you finally accept that letting go is not giving up. It's getting up. Getting up from your knees, from the pain, from the confusion, and walking into the freedom that's been waiting for you on the other side of surrender. There's freedom in surrendering what's not yours to carry. We were never meant to control everything. We can't force people to love us right. We can't make someone see our worth. We can't undo what's already been done. And when we spend all our time trying to control the uncontrollable, we lose the joy of the present moment. We lose ourselves in trying to manage the storms we didn't create. But when you let go, when you truly release, it feels like breathing for the first time. That weight you've been carrying starts to lift. Your mind stops racing. Your heart stops aching for what it can't fix. You realize that peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from learning to trust that no matter what happens, you will still be okay. That even when people leave, plans change, or life turns upside down, you still have the power to stand. Because what's meant for you will never require you to lose your peace to keep it. What's meant for you will never require you to lose your peace to keep it. Sometimes we hold on because we think it's a sign of strength. We think letting go means we've failed, that we're quitting. But it's the opposite. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing when your spirit has had enough. It's realizing that some things are breaking you more than they're building you. There are people who will never say sorry. There are situations that will never make sense. And if you keep trying to make peace with what has no peace in it, you'll stay stuck in a loop of frustration. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more you suffer. Letting go doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you're choosing to care for yourself too. You're choosing to stop negotiating your sanity for answers you may never get. And in that decision, in that sacred release, you create room for healing, room for growth, room for the things that do belong in your life. Letting go is a silent revolution inside your soul, a whisper that says, enough. Now it's my turn to heal. We've all had moments where we beg the universe for clarity, for closure, for something to make the pain make sense. But some of the most powerful healing you'll ever experience is when you stop needing answers and start choosing peace. When you let go of that burning desire to understand why someone hurt you, why it didn't work out, or why life didn't go according to plan, you set yourself free. Control is a tempting illusion. It makes you believe you can predict outcomes if you just try hard enough. But the truth is, control robs you of the present. It binds you to anxiety, to fear, to constant stress. And once you release it, once you say, I'm not going to carry this anymore, your entire world shifts. You begin to see life differently. Not as something you must conquer, but something you can experience fully without gripping every detail. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about releasing your need to make it all make sense before you heal. It's about choosing peace over explanation. There's nothing more powerful than a soul that has decided to stop chasing what's not chasing it back. We've all been guilty of it. Clinging to people who are walking away, holding on to situations that are already collapsing, obsessing over things that were never in our control to begin with. That desperation to make it work, to fix it, to save it, it's exhausting. And in that exhaustion, we forget who we are. We become shadows of ourselves, trying to force alignment where there's only resistance. But the moment you step back, the moment you say, I release this, is the moment you begin to breathe again. You were never meant to beg for what's yours. You were never meant to suffer endlessly for things that no longer serve you. Letting go teaches you that you are not helpless, you are healing, you are not broken, you are rebuilding. And in every act of release, you're writing a new story, one where your peace is prioritized, your energy protected, and your heart finally honored. Letting go is an act of self-trust. It's telling yourself that no matter what happens, you have the strength to move forward, that even when things don't go your way, you will not crumble. You will not lose yourself trying to hold together something that was never meant to last. When you let go, you stop being a prisoner of the past. You stop dragging old pain into new days. You stop defining your worth by what didn't work out. And instead, you start creating a life that reflects your healing. You begin to feel lighter. You begin to smile without pretending. You begin to find joy in the small things again, because now your energy isn't being wasted on things you can't change. It's being invested in things you can. Your mindset, your growth, your peace. And that's the greatest shift of all. When you finally let go of what you can't control, you begin to control the only thing that truly matters. You. Becoming emotionally self-reliant is not about pretending you don't need anyone. It's not about isolating yourself or shutting your heart off from the world. It's about learning how to stand firm when no one claps for you, when no one checks in, when no one understands your battles. It's about waking up and saying, even if nobody shows up for me, I will show up for myself. Life will not always hand you support. Sometimes the love you're looking for has to come from the mirror. Sometimes the person who lifts you up is the one staring back at you through the pain, through the fatigue, through the silence. Emotional self-reliance is built when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you stop waiting for people to tell you you're enough and you start declaring it yourself. It's the quiet decision to be your own home, your own shelter, your own peace. And once you find that within, no rejection, no betrayal, no loss can truly take it away from you. Because what's rooted in you cannot be shaken by what's missing around you. That's not coldness. That's power. That's not ego. That's survival. That's you becoming everything you needed. There was a time when you gave your heart too freely. You trusted too fast, loved too deeply, expected too much. And every time someone failed you, a piece of you questioned your own value. That's what happens when we place our emotional safety in other people's hands. We give them the power to validate or destroy us. But emotional self-reliance breaks that pattern. It's saying, I will no longer give anyone the keys to my peace. You start realizing that not everyone deserves access to your softest places. You begin to understand that real strength isn't in how loudly you love, but in how deeply you know your worth, with or without someone else's confirmation. It's not about building walls. It's about building foundations. So that even if people walk away, even if the crowd gets quiet, you still stand tall. Because you're no longer rooted in their presence. You're grounded in your own. When you become emotionally self-reliant, your emotions stop being a roller coaster tied to someone else's actions. You move from reaction to control, from chaos to clarity. It's easy to believe that love should fix everything, that if someone just loves you enough, supports you enough, stands by you long enough, your wounds will disappear. But healing is your job, peace is your responsibility. Nobody else can give you what you won't give yourself. You have to wake up and speak life over your own soul. You have to look in the mirror and remind yourself that you are worthy, even if no one says it, that you are enough, even if they don't choose you, that you are healing, even if the pain still lingers. Emotional self-reliance is the art of not needing permission to feel whole. It's standing in your own light, even when the world throws shadows your way. It's knowing that your happiness isn't in their hands. It's in your habits, your choices, your mindset. You stop begging. You stop waiting. You stop hoping they'll come back and fix what they broke. Instead, you roll up your sleeves and you rebuild, brick by brick, breath by breath, not because it's easy, but because you finally realized no one's coming to save you. But that's okay, because you've got you now. You begin to thrive when you realize you don't have to prove your worth to be loved. That realization changes everything. Emotional self-reliance isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's protecting your heart without hardening it. It's loving without losing yourself. It's being okay with silence, not because you enjoy being alone, but because you're not afraid of it anymore. You learn to enjoy your own company, your own peace, your own growth. And in that process, you become less attached to what people think of you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop over-apologizing. You stop living for the approval of those who never had the depth to understand your value. When your peace comes from within, no one can steal it. When your joy is self-generated, no one can destroy it. You start living differently. You start chasing people and start chasing purpose. You stop shrinking and start shining. Because now you know your emotions are your responsibility. And if you've got the power to fall apart, you've also got the power to pull yourself back together. There is a version of you that doesn't break when someone ghosts you, that doesn't spiral when things fall apart, that doesn't crumble when you face rejection. That version of you is born the day you stop expecting others to complete you. Emotional self-reliance is about building emotional wealth within. It's knowing how to calm your own storms, how to sit in your pain and not run from it, how to cheer yourself on in the dark. Yes, we all want support. We all want someone to say, I see you, I'm here for you. And when you get that, it's beautiful. But it can't be the foundation, because people leave, they change, they forget. But you're with yourself forever. That's why emotional independence isn't just helpful, it's necessary. You become your own anchor, your own lighthouse. So when life gets loud, when the world gets cruel, when people disappoint, you don't collapse. You breathe. You stand. And you keep moving, not because it's easy, but because you've learned that your strength is not a reaction to others. It's a decision you make for yourself every single day. When you become emotionally self-reliant, you unlock a kind of peace that doesn't need constant maintenance from the outside world. You no longer search for love in broken places. You stop chasing people who can't even love themselves. You begin to understand that being chosen by others is not as important as choosing yourself. And in that moment, everything shifts. You learn how to self-soothe, how to regulate your emotions, how to breathe through the pain instead of acting out of it. You give yourself space to feel, but you no longer let those feelings drown you. You learn how to pause instead of react, how to forgive without forgetting who you are. You stop needing closure to move on. You stop needing apologies to heal. You become full, not because someone filled you, but because you finally filled yourself. and now, no matter who stays or who leaves, who claps or who criticizes, you remain. You remain rooted. You remain enough because your emotions are no longer held hostage by outside forces. They are safe in your hands. That is self-reliance. That is freedom. That is the beginning of unshakable peace. At the end of it all, what we truly seek is not control, not validation, not applause, but peace. And that peace begins when we stop depending on others to give us what we can give ourselves. Detachment teaches us to protect our hearts without shutting them down. It reminds us that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to carry the weight of people's actions, words, or choices. You don't have to explain yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. What you do have to do is choose your peace. Every single day, not because the world will get easier, but because you will get stronger. Letting go of what you can't control isn't about being careless. It's about trusting the process of life. It's realizing that some chapters must close so your soul can breathe again. The moment you release your grip on the uncontrollable, you make space for healing, for growth, for alignment. You begin to rise, not because everything around you is perfect, but because you stop letting the chaos around you dictate the calm within you. And emotional self-reliance, that's where your power truly lives. When you are no longer shaken by absence, when you no longer rely on others to tell you who you are, you become unbreakable. You become the anchor in your own storm, the light in your own tunnel, the comfort in your own silence. People may walk away, life may twist and turn, but when you've learned to love, lead, and lift yourself, you realize you were never alone. You were always enough. This journey isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally wise. It's about recognizing your worth, reclaiming your power, and refusing to let anyone or anything control how you feel about yourself. Detachment, letting go, and self-reliance aren't just survival tools. They're the blueprint for inner peace. So wherever you are in your journey right now, breathe deep. You are healing. You are growing. And you are stronger than you've ever been. Keep going. Keep standing. Keep choosing peace. Thank you for listening with your heart. May you walk forward with strength, with grace, and with the unshakable knowledge that you are enough. God bless you. Stay strong.